What's going on, Niner fam? It's Pete again. Second time in 1 week. That's got to be a record for me in this off season. But I got with me today, just to remind you, this is the Niner Fanatic podcast. Please make sure you hit the like button. Please make sure that you subscribe. But I got with me today. He hosts that Niner Life on YouTube. So go check out his channel. But I got with me today Ron Erazo. Ron, why don't you tell them where they can find you on the socials?
Yeah, man. First of all, thanks for having me on, brother. I know it's been a couple of months, but love to come on the show. Yeah, you can actually catch me on Twitter. You can see my handle below at Ron E Niner. I am back starting this Monday, August 1st. You catch me on Twitter live. You can catch me on YouTube, and we are transitioning in onto Spotify. You can also catch me on Thursdays with the fellas on the Red and Gold 24/7 show. 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So good to be with you, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. I had some technical difficulties on the show a couple days ago, and luckily I was lucky enough to have Chris was able to come on and like kind of save me for a few minutes. But yeah, I'm happy to have you on. Glad that we could reschedule. And I mean, of course, we got more to talk about because it's the first week of training camp. And I mean, there's always now that the season is really starting to ramp up, and we're getting ready for the season. It's just going to be there's not going to be any shortage of things to talk about, right? So it's going to be, yeah, I'm really just stoked about this season. But getting into training camp, so the last couple of days since I had my last show, we've had some we've had some ups and downs. Honestly, and it's I want to be real with the people. The offense does not look great. Let's just be honest. And but the how much of that is our guys, and how much of that is our guys on offense, and how much of it is they're going against a top five defense, and they're not number five, and how much is it that they're just missing players? They're missing their starting tackles. They're trying to work in a center that's never started in the league before, and we've got some rookies on the offensive line right now. So how much of it do you think? What do you think it is, and why they're struggling? Ron, let's start with you.
For me, it's 50-50. But the thing about that is that as a fan, it really depends on like what your expectations are of the QBs. Or basically it's going to come down to like what your expectations are as a fan. Like if they're really high, you're going to be really frustrated. But if you understand and you trust the process, then you shouldn't be panicking. But for me, it's 50-50. We have again these guys are young quarterbacks. We all know Trey Lance, it's the second year. Brock Purdy's a rookie, and Nate Sudfeld doesn't have a lot of playing experience. So it's kind of what you have to expect. The other thing you have to consider is, like you said, all the moving pieces on the O line. Right now, they're just trying guys out, and they're giving them shots to see where they fit. The other thing that you have to add into the equation is how good our defense is, and we're all well aware of it. But anyone who's played the sport has to understand this. When you start training camp and you don't have pads on, the advantage usually goes to the defense. It takes the offense a while to get going. So I'm not ready to hit panic mode. I'm out here to tell everybody as a fan, you should not either. The pads come on Monday, and these quarterbacks are fairly young. You got to trust the process. So it's better to get these mistakes ironed out now than in the season. And for me, again, it's 50-50, a 50 of inexperience, and the other half of it is going against a top elite defense.
Yeah, for sure. That's the way I'm seeing it. Like the they were a lot of the reports are saying that the defensive line looked unblockable. Eric Armstead. Oh, we do want to mention that Eric Armstead had I don't want to say minor injury because no injury. I feel like no Niner fan can call any injury minor. like,
Right.
but it was an. I guess he had an MCL sprain, and it's going to put him out for a couple of weeks. Are we really worried about Eric Armstead fitting in, finding his fit in this defense? Absolutely not. So I'm not really worried about the injury, but before he got injured, they said that he was unblockable. Like nobody that was in front of him could stop him. And I'm just I think that it's just kind of a testament to we've been talking all off season about this defensive line and this defensive line depth is that I just don't know of many offensive lines in this league that are going to be able to block these guys. But another reason why I uh, feel that Trey and the offense was struggling is because we got another addition in this offseason in Travarius Ward, which kind of flipped the way our coverage works. We also lost Jaquaski Tart, and now Hafunga is starting, and he's making plays, and has been making plays in this offseason. So I think that it's like we just talked about. This defense is I think it's better. I think it's better. I think it's deeper. And I think that it's going to be hard for any offensive line to block them. But let alone an offensive line that's missing two starters at tackles, and then has rookies across the line, and then guys are trying to learn to play the center. So I don't really necessarily think that this is a big deal right now. Like you said, like you talked about it with the pads, it's a lot. It's going to be a lot different for those offensive linemen when they can put their hands on those guys' pads and start moving those bodies around. So it's and then when we get Trent Williams on the field, we get Mike Litchi on the field. Um, it's going to be different. And then Debo, I'm hearing more and more rumors, and we'll get to Debo later. But yeah, I just think that this is a whole bunch of nothing. It's the third day of training camp, and and Trey is this is Trey's team at this point. But we all know that there's gonna be bumps and bruises along the way. He's just got to get the reps. He's got to get as many reps as he can, and that's what I'm just excited that he's getting all the reps and that he's getting a chance to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all expected it, except our hardcore Jimmy fans who are chopping
Yeah,
at the bits to see Trey fail,
they want to see him
and
fail so bad.
they're ready for it, But it changes things when you put pads on and old linemen, and you get guys back who like Trent, and are able to put their shoulders on D linemen's hips and drive them, away from the play. That changes the game. So right now, everybody looks great in shorts. You kind of let guys run by you sometimes. It changes things when you put the pads on. So I'm not ready to hit the panic button yet. I called this last week with the fellas, and they asked me what to expect in training camp or the first week, and that's exactly what I called out. You're going to hear about musical chairs on the offensive line, and you're going to get a complete overreaction from the fan base. And I'm telling you right now, that's exactly what's going to happen, and that's what happened. That's where we're at. So pads come on Monday. Let's give them a week, and then we can reconvene in a week and see where
Yeah,
we're at there then.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, we were talking about the defense a little bit, but who on the defense are you most excited to see week one? And what ranking do you think this defense ends up at the end of the season?
I give this defense a top five. I'm not really sure if it's the top defensive unit in football right now. Um, because I mean the Bills have a really good unit, the Patriots have a good unit. So I'm between top five and top three. As far as players go, I broke it down by veterans. I will tell you that when it comes to veterans, I really want to see Nick Bosa this season because I want to see
Hmm.
that defensive player of the year season for him. This guy, from what I'm hearing, from what I'm reading, he looks even better this year. And I didn't think that was possible. From the young guys and the second year players, the guy I'm excited about, there's two actually. Talanoa Hafunga, who I had concerns about as far as speed, angles, and coverage. And I love to be proven wrong by a player. It's just great to see a player shut you up. The other guy I want to see is Drake Jackson. I'm hearing really good things about him. So
Hmm.
those are the two young guys that I'm excited to see. The other guy that I want to, well, and it's not even a player; it's a position. I really want to see the nickel position, and I do want to see Sam Womack.
Yeah.
Um, JV's out right now, but that's going to be a really important position for us. As we all know, the nickel position is just getting more and more important. A lot of teams are even starting with the nickel now because of the passing game and such great talent in the slot. But Sam Womack is another guy that I haven't heard too much about him yet, but I'm excited to see what he can do and if he's going to step up to the challenge at that position.
Yeah. So what I've heard is that Sam Womack, I mean, he hasn't really stood out um, from what I've heard. Like what I've heard about the nickel position is people can't stop talking about Darquez Bernard. Like they're saying that he understands that he's a pro's pro. Uh, they're saying that he's been solid. Like I don't see them saying that he's really good or like that he's. But you haven't heard about him getting burnt, and that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main thing for me. Now when we get into, like you said, with the pads on and everything, and they've got Devo back in the fold, and all of a sudden, like things get shifted around, and he's having to guard like a Danny Gray or something like that. We'll see what ends up happening. But I agree with you. Like I'm really interested in this nickel spot,
Yep.
and I was one of those people that thought they might end up moving Emmanuel Mosley down to the nickel spot, but how they've talked about how great he has looked on the outside, I don't know that you can do that. I don't know that you can take him away from that outside spot.
Mm-mm.
Like Ambry Thomas is they they talked about Ambry Thomas today. He had 7 targets, seven completions against him. Well, I mean that's not to say that he can't get better as training camp goes along, but Emmanuel Mosley I think has proven himself at this point. He was our best DB last year. He's doing just as well so far as Travarius Ward, who is another guy that I'm extremely happy that is looks to be a dog in camp, and everybody's talking about him. But yeah, I'm really interested. They've got some pieces at those spots, and I think that we're even going to see Lenore, who is another guy that they had a really good day today. Apparently, Lenore, like Shavarius Ward, actually talked about him in the press conference today, saying that he really liked his instincts and really likes his ability. So I think he's another guy to put in the mix to think about. But that goes right back to my point earlier. This defense is so deep. It's so deep. They've got so many bodies that I feel like with the coaching staff that we have, this somebody is going to shine. Somebody's going to pop in, and it's going to be good. But to go back to the question of where do I see them ranking? I see them ranking top. I'm with you on top five. I keep going back and forth between that top five, top three. But the reality is, I don't ever want to project top three, like
Right.
because I think you're just setting yourself up for failure in those situations. I can be confident, but yeah, like I'm gonna say top five with ability to to move up later. But
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I agree. And so to circle back on the Emmanuel Mosley point that you made, I never really saw E-Man moving inside like everybody talked about. I was more of a believer in Jason Verrett getting moved inside than
Mhm.
anybody else. The other thing I wanted to talk about as well is Giamador Lador. Everybody was ready to write him off, and I strongly told everybody, I don't know. I mean, I think I can see this guy playing inside as well. So it kind of makes me happy to hear that he's actually having a good camp. He had a good day, because I'm not ready to write him off just yet. The nickel position is going to be important, man, because we got burnt by Cup there, and whoever plays in that spot is going to be really important. So
Mhm.
safety and nickel are the two spots that I really have focus on right now because they're going to be really important. We're going to have some young guys in those positions if it's not JV, and they're gonna have to step up for us. So that's kind of why I'm a little bit back and forth on top three, top five, because those two positions we don't know who's gonna land there yet. So really excited
Yeah,
about it.
I would say, and I was thinking about this today before we got on the show, but I was looking at the situation and comparing it to last year. So last year we had Emmanuel Mosley for I would say what like I would say probably what a little over half of the season. Like they we were kind of struggling like on that corner spot, and it was forcing the safeties to kind of try and help them, and they were always needing help. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but now you have Shavarius Ward and Eman on the other side that are going to be they're playing more press man. They're able to hold down their spots, which means that the safeties are going to be able to help that nickel guy, whoever it is, and I think that he's going to get more help. So I think that we have a chance to really and the way D'Amico Ryan's kind of shades coverage wherever he needs it, it's pretty crazy, like the way he disguises his looks. But and then the other thing that's going to help them is, of course, that defensive line, like at the pressure that they get, and of course you got Warner and Aziz that can cover, that those guys can cover. So I think that it's not. I don't think that I'm growing more and more comfortable with the thought process of we don't have to be locked down at that nickel spot, and like I think that they'll have enough. They have enough around them to help them out at that spot if they need to. So I don't know how you felt about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, so. Um, Here's the thing with the nickel position. My concern is covering Cup,
Yeah,
and then the opponents that we have to face. So I definitely can get there with it, but I think I'm just lobbying for Jason Verrett to jump in there. If you can get him to move inside, I don't see how anybody can really throw against us. So
yeah,
that's why I'm really focused on those two spots. I keep hearing like phenomenal things about Hufanga.
yeah.
And to me, it's like because I actually had more starting over Hufanga, but if Hufanga's playing the way he's playing, I'm good with it. So if if you think that's what I mean, if that's your take on what's going to happen with the nickel position, I'm good with it. I mean, like, but for me, I think I'm putting a little bit more emphasis on it is where I'm getting at because
Yeah, I
I don't
feel you.
know. Yeah.
But the only reason why I can't see Verrett down in that nickel spot, at least on especially on not on early downs, is that they're going to need him for run support. K1 was a huge in run support,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not asking Verrett with his injury history to play the run. Like you're not gonna do that. And it's so I mean if it's an obvious passing down, I could see it
Yeah.
because you would need somebody to guard that slot position in that aspect. But like when we're talking about we're talking about early downs. I cannot see them putting Barrett in that spot just because he is the injury history. And I mean it's crazy to think that E-Man would start over him on the outside, but that was the reason why I thought E-Man was going to go inside was because I think that you have to put Barrett on the outside if you're going to use him, and it's so yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
that's a great point,
they
though.
have
That's a great point.
they have so many options. They have
Right.
so many bodies that who knows? And the way that Kyle and D'Amico do things, they never do things the way we think that they are. Like so who knows?
Yeah, who knows at
But
this? But that's a great point though. If you really think about it, like, are you really going to ask Jason Brett to go up in the box and stick his nose in that? So like, I can see that. I can get there, but it's going to
yeah,
be interesting to see who lands there.
yeah, we'll see. Well, yeah, we'll just see because, like, I mean, like I said, you just never know. You never know with this coaching staff. They always like to throw you curveballs, and yeah, we
So many
just don't.
options. Such a
Yeah,
good
just
problem to
too many
have.
options. Another guy that has gotten a lot of good press is Castro Fields,
Yeah,
the
I've heard.
rookie.
Yeah, I think you were big
Like,
on him. We talked about him last time I was on
yeah,
as
I
well.
just because of
Mm-hmm.
his size, his measurables. If
His
they could get
speed.
him, yeah, that's. I'm just saying, like, if uh, if they can just get him like next to Trevarius Ward and copying that technique and get him to copy that technique, it could just. I mean, Sky. I think sky's the limit for that kid. Like, and he's a willing tackler, so like he's not the greatest at it, but
Yeah,
but
that was my issue with him. Like that was the one thing that I saw on film from him was his tackling. So
yeah,
that's what I want to see. Like, can he get better at it? And I think we have the coaching staff to teach him to do it. So
exactly.
he's playing outside right now, right? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's all I've heard him taking snaps at. Lenore was only taking snaps outside, which I thought was weird. Like, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if maybe they think that he doesn't. I don't know. I'm not gonna speculate because like
Yeah.
it's at this point it's the third day of training camp. I think that they're just throwing guys in spots and seeing who shows out in what spot and maybe they might flesh that out later if guys like just pop at certain positions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I mean the other thing you got to consider as well is like what personnel are going to be in, like you said. So I mean, it's 4-3. You don't run nickel, like we don't know at this point. What I do know about D'Amico is that like I think he had his mind made up when he came on and took the job was that he was going to go away. He was going to go away from that soft coverage.
Yeah,
So that's exactly what I want to see from this secondary because, as you indicated earlier, it was a problem last year. So, and now they got the players to like execute exactly what D'Amico's trying to do. You saw that against the Packers. Like Packers
mm-hmm.
in the playoff game, they were driving. D'Amico made the necessary adjustments, and now with the right players, they may just be a no flies unit. You know what I mean? So I'm excited, man.
That's my thing. If they can get these guys, because what I will say about if you look at the personnel, they're all physical. They're all physical, and they like to get body on body. And so, in a press man scheme, that's going to give those defensive linemen, when they rush forward, that's going to give those defensive linemen an extra second at least to get to the quarterback. And I think a lot of times last year, that's all that was missing was an extra second of coverage.
Yep.
Like, and it's going to be curtains for a lot of quarterbacks out there. I don't know do you know what the sack record is? Because I think that they may break it.
Yeah, I do not top of head. I do not, but I would not be surprised if they do. I mean, that D line was top in quarterback pressures last year, so you add a good secondary to the mix, man.
Yeah,
These guys may just
it's
not
crazy.
score on us.
Because honestly, we haven't had like just that solid lights out secondary, and like they don't even have in my mind they don't even have to be lights out. They just have to be able to cover for like I said, an extra second better than they did last season,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
let that defensive line get home.
right. Yep.
Yeah. So, but so back to Javarius Ward, who's been like I said, been clamps all by all accounts in practice. How huge of an upgrade is this over last season? And do you think his coverage skills could actually be like we're just talking about the defensive line? Do you think his coverage skills are going to be that difference in them getting even close to that sack record?
Yeah, yeah. I think where you're going to see the 49ers benefit the most with his addition is on third downs. The game I think back to a lot is the Titans game and how AJ Brown ate us up on third down
I mean,
because we
killed us.
were in soft coverage and all he had to do was run a quick hook curl across the chains and he ate us up. That's where I think we're going to benefit the most is on third down, because now we have E-Man and Ward who are able to put the clamps on the number one and number two receivers, and they're going to benefit so much. Again, the D line was tops in the league in quarterback pressures, and they were up there in tackles for losses. We did lose DJ Jones. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but if you add these guys into the mix now, and you're getting that much pressure with that good of coverage, watch out.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I think too. But I also think that he brings a more physical style, like a physical style. And I've always thought that E-Man had that style, but Shavarius Ward kind of ramps it up a little bit, and from the tape that I've seen of him, and I think that it's even one of those things where you can it's part of the mental game.
Yep.
Like I think that's something that we don't really necessarily talk about all the time, but that mental side of the of football of just of putting the clamps on them and giving them the feeling that they can't do anything, they can't go anywhere, and it's gonna beat them down mentally, especially when they get frustrated because even the one time they get open, let's say they get open, but the defensive line puts so much pressure that the quarterback doesn't really know where to go with the ball, and like I think that those are going to be those. It's that mental aspect of the game that I think he's really going to help with, and that the 49er defense may just like kind of beat like the off. We've always talked about the offense being playing bully ball, but I think that this defense has a chance this year to play some bully ball and to get physical at the line of scrimmage to the point to where they're playing bully ball on both sides of the ball, and there's just nowhere to go with like when they get to the sideline, just everybody looks defeated. I don't know how
Yeah,
you felt like how
yeah,
you feel
no,
about it.
I do. I like the point. The point. The mental game is a really great point. When you have a guy like that in your locker room, it makes all the other younger guys step their game up because they're like, I want to be like that guy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he brings an edge. He doesn't talk a whole lot. He leads by example. He kind of almost reminds me of Sanders when he came in that Super Bowl year, how the wide
Yeah,
receivers elevated their game just because of his presence.
yeah,
And that's a really great point because it's important, like like you said, it's 90% mental, 10% physical. And just
mm-hmm.
his presence alone in the locker room makes the younger guys have to elevate their game. And he's a physical dude. We're already a physical football team. And just bringing him in and having him show like the type of drills he's doing for press coverage, you see it already. So I mean, it's a win-win. I know a lot of fans were skeptical about the signing when we got him.
I was one
Um,
of them. I
yeah,
was
but
one of them.
now they should know why they went out and got him, and he was probably the only guy they targeted in the offseason. So big addition. Kudos to them. Of course, we're still in day what, 2 of training camp. Pads
Yeah,
haven't come on, but for right now, there's a lot to be excited about.
yeah, a lot to be excited about, and I heard, and a lot of people on Twitter. I'm in spaces like every day, so yeah, they're talking about Travarius Ford got burned by what was his name, Jamar
Hunter
Chase.
Renfro.
Well, by Jamar Chase too. They were
Oh
saying
yeah,
that
who doesn't?
he got burned by him. But then the other, because they played him twice, and or did they play him twice? Like he only got 70 yards. That's what that was my point. Was like they were trying to act like just got continuously torched, but he
Yeah,
really had one big play, and the rest of it he was like clamps the rest of the game.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I just like the toughness that he brings, and I think that it's going to be a really welcome addition. I think that that's the one part of our team that really we didn't have that reputation at being bullies was was at the corner position, and now it like it could be that way, and like we can go there with it.
Yeah, I mean, you remember how frustrated everybody was with Josh Norman,
Oh,
right?
oh my
And
God.
all the penalties, and like just the dude was on roller skates the entire game. I mean, absolute upgrade. So yeah.
But
Um, c-
look for this to happen though. I'm calling it now. Like we're in the third day of training camp. I'm calling it now. If we get through this training camp in preseason, no major injuries, and Eman and Travarius Ward are starting, look for the referees to get involved to free up those receivers. I'm calling it now because the refs are not going to allow us to not have some kind of offensive display. And because I felt like they did that a lot to the 49ers last season. Uh, they don't call holding on. They were allowing teams to hold Nick Bosa con- consistently, and like in our whole defensive line, to be honest. And it was so I don't put it past the refs to allow to start throwing flags on some ticky tack flags just to help the offense out here and there. So be on the lookout for that.
yeah, and the other thing I'm curious to see is like how is he going to get targeted? Who are they going to target? Are they going to target E-Man? Where do you go with the ball?
Yeah, I mean they're gonna try. I think that they have no choice but to try.
Right.
To try and target against. It's probably going to be E-Man in the beginning because he just doesn't have the name. But I think that I'm fully expecting them to try and go against Ward in the beginning. Like I think that teams are going to try and run their offense. I think that they're going to be on the run for their life. The quarterbacks are in the beginning, so they're just going to be looking for the open guy. Like I don't even think that it's going to necessarily be a target issue. I think that it's going to be as much as it is. They're just going to be looking for somebody. It's going to be a lot of dump offs to the running backs and like that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
but speaking of Emmanuel Mosley, so he looked really good. He's shown us a lot so far, and he hasn't even had a completion against him in the first 3 days of training camp. Now, granted, no pads, like we get it. Like, but should the should the 49ers lock him up long term now before the season starts, or should they wait and end up having to pay him more?
No, and I don't know where you stand on this, but I've even said this with like the contracts they try, the extensions they work out with Kittle, Warner, and even Debo. It's cheaper to sign them now. The
Yeah,
salary cap's going up next year. The more money you have, the more money they're going to want. I think the deal should get done now versus next year. It for me, it just makes more sense. I never fully understood why the 49ers wait so long to sign their guys. They obviously have their
I don't get
reasons
it either.
for it. But from a like it just to me it doesn't make any sense. The only thing that I can think of is um maybe they want to test their guys to see if like it's more about the money than it is the game. I doubt it, but it's just cheaper. Kittle's alluded to it. I think Warner's alluded to it, and I agree with it. Lock the guy in now versus next year because it's gonna cost more, and then you're gonna have teams who have money to go out and get them. There's a lot of bad teams out there who can just pay them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like that's how I feel about it too. I think that at the end of training camp, if we make it through training camp and E-Man hasn't gotten injured, I think that they need to at least do a 2 to 3 year deal and like something mid because he the last deal we signed him to was a 2 year and I think that you go another 2 year deal with him and like like not insult him like but you want to pay him a little bit over what he's making now. Like I would say maybe because I should have looked it up before, but I'm not quite sure what he's really making right now. I know it's not a lot, like but it's I would say around the eight 8 mil a year, maybe offer him
Yeah.
and see if we could lock him down at least for 3 to 4 years, like that way. Like that's the only. I just think that is one of those pieces that you could now all of a sudden you have him and Shervarius Ward for the foreseeable future, and that really helps out this defense. Like with moving guys around because eventually you're going to have to replace Jimmy Ward. Eventually you're going to have to solidify that nickel spot. Hopefully, one of the guys steps up this season, but you're gonna have to solidify that nickel spot. Hopefully, Huff is the answer. It's strong safety, but until proven otherwise, we still have to solidify that spot. I just think that you solidify your bookends, and then you build from the outside in.
Yeah, so his base salary this year is 4.4 million.
Yeah,
And then he has a
yeah,
prorated
double it.
bonus of 1.7. Exactly. So that's the thing. It's like he was an undrafted free agent, right? And I mean, the guy's
Yep.
getting paid 4.4 million base. The cap number is 6.5 million this year.
Mhm.
So get him locked in now before he asks for like 80 million or a ridiculous number if he has a phenomenal season. I know he's had a history of injuries. And that's probably something that, you got to consider obviously as an organization, but it's just cheaper. It makes more sense to do it now versus later because he might have a Pro Bowl year. I'm actually going to put my money in him having a really good a Pro Bowl year, and then he's going to have a lot of options. So
Yep.
do it
I
now.
think he's
Sign
gonna
him.
have a Pro Bowl year too.
Yeah,
Like I said, if he can stay healthy, because Travarius Ward, he's gonna be going against twos now. Last year he had to deal with ones, and he had a good year last year. He was one of the best. He was one of the best coverage. He had one of the best coverage ratings last season when he played. So now he's going to be going against twos, and it's only going to make him look better. And it's yeah, I just think that you just go ahead and you just do it. You know that the salary cap is going to explode next year. I know that a lot of people are saying, well, you can't. That doesn't mean that you can go crazy. I'm not talking about going crazy. Like I'm saying, double it. Make him 8 million. That's average for a starting corner in this league. I feel, and so I think that's actually under average for a starting
yeah,
corner
that's
in this league.
actually really low.
Like
So you also got to
maybe
consider who's
10.
behind
They
him.
may end up 10.
Yeah,
But I mean that would be way more than he's making now. And I think being an undrafted free agent, I think that, and with his injury history to take into account, that might be a good starting point at least.
yeah. I mean, like if they keep Verrett and they keep him outside, who knows at that point? And we don't know yet. So if Verrett comes back, that's something we got to consider as well. Like it's a toss up there. Like where are you playing Verrett? Is he going to go outside? Is he going to go inside? Now you have two dudes there who have like all pro potential, and if you don't pay E-Man, you keep Verrett, or are you comfortable with your backups like in Ambry Thomas and Lenore? So no, I just think it makes more sense to sign them now, commit to them, let them know that you're invested into them, and get the deal done. And I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure he's going to take it.
let's speak that into existence
Yeah,
and like get that kid locked up. Let's keep our good players in house and not watch him blow up for somebody else. Um,
exactly.
but so we talked about the offensive line earlier. They've struggled. They've struggled so far. But we also said they're missing two starters. So do they get a pass? And are you worried that this can become a real issue, especially at the center spot?
They get a pass for a week from me
Yeah.
until the pads come on. And once the pads come on and we continue to hear that they are really struggling, then it's probably time to be concerned. As far as center goes, I think they really need to look at bringing somebody in for Trey Lance. They need a veteran. They can also, they also have the option to sit around and wait to see if anybody releases a good center,
That
and
that
they
was
can
my thought too.
scoop them up. So it's not panic mode yet. I know a lot of fans are talking about bringing in Treader. I would wait a little bit. No one's rushing to sign Treader. No one is.
Yeah.
So wait for cuts. See if you can get a good center out there. See what your options are. But I really believe they have to bring someone in. I mean, there's a reason why Brendel was on 5 teams, and I think he only has 3 starts.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. And I'm giving him a pass because like we talked about the pass. I think that's a huge. a huge aspect of being able to get underneath those pads and being able to move guys, uh, like when we're talking about the offensive line. So I'm not really worried per se. Like, and also we don't have Trent Williams out there. Also, we don't have McGlinchey out there. And say what you want to about McGlinchey, about his pass blocking, he's not terrible. Like he's not. People want to act like he's just god awful, but the reality is he's pretty average for a right tackle in pass protection. He just has really bad misses at really bad times. like and but that was when Jimmy was back there, and now we have a mobile guy in Trey. I think that's going to make a difference. And even the fact that McGlinchey is a little athletic and can get out, I think that's going to help him with Trey back there because Trey's going to be moving the pocket around, and I think that's really going to help these guys like with the pass protection. So I don't necessarily think that they need to have a lights out offensive line. I think that the that they had Tom Compton starting at right tackle for a bunch of games last season, and they
Yeah,
made
they
it
did.
work.
And
They
Colton
made it work.
McKivitz.
Colton McKivitz, like I mean, now granted, they had Alex Mack all year at center, so that was never an issue. And then the center, I think, leaves is a big part of Kyle's offense. But at the same time, I worry more about the snap than I do because I shouldn't be hearing about snaps in training camp. Like and I'm hearing about how bad the snaps are. Like we shouldn't be hearing about how bad the
No,
snaps are.
not, especially
That's
not at the pro level.
like I should be hearing you get beat. Okay, I can see hearing about you get beat, but I should not be hearing about snaps. Like, and that's I think that's the thing that I worry about the most is that we don't have a is that Trey can't be worrying about the snap. He's got enough to worry about being a second year quarterback and his first year starting. He does not need to worry worrying about the snap, especially when we run a majority of our stuff out of the shotgun. Like
Yeah.
at least we did last year. Like I think they're going to do some under the center this year, but still, you're every team runs shotgun. So yeah, that's the only thing that worries me about the center. But I agree with you that there was another guy from that the Giants dropped. He was on the Giants last year. That they people were talking about as getting a good
Yeah, I
looking
saw
guy,
that. I forget his name. Yeah, I know where you're going. Yep.
but he was an athletic guy too. Like, and I just want a pro, a guy that's used to doing it, and he doesn't have to be great because I think that the pre-snap motion and the zone run scheme is going to help them is only going to help them, and having Trey as quarterback is only going to help them, like with their blocking. But I need them to have good snaps.
Yeah, I mean, like you can't really grade your old line yet without seeing them block in the run game with pads on. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You got to get a whole you got to get a whole like view of like what they can and can't do. And what you can't have either is the pocket collapsing from the inside. Um, and I would be more concerned about the right side of the line than I am the left side of the line. So, um, was that is that Mark?
Yeah,
This, what's up, guys? Great show. Keep
yeah.
evolving.
Keep
What up, Marky
evolving.
Mark? But yeah, man, like I said, can't panic yet. We got to see what these guys do in the run game. It may change it when these guys start running.
But yeah, and Mark said too. Mike Lynch only needs to work on his footwork and defending for pass protection. Absolutely. Like he had a really problem with anchoring, and like
Yeah.
that
Mm-hmm.
was his thing. He doesn't have enough strength to really anchor against the pass rush. But
He.
with
Mm-hmm.
Trey back there, like being able to move the pocket,
Mm-hmm. Step
like
up.
that's going to help a guy like Mike McGlinchey that's more athletic than strong. And like I would worry more if we had a power power gap blocking scheme and those guys are just literally pylons around. Like then I'd be more worried about the pass blocking. But knowing how athletic our guys are, I'm not as worried with Trey back there because he's going to move the pocket around. He's going to be running. He's going to be running away from pressure, and he did it last year. Last year he only had in all of the appearances that he had, including preseason, he was only sacked 4 times. So It's I think that that's a big aspect that people need to understand with Mike McGlinchey. I think it's going to really help him not having Jimmy anymore.
Yeah, and Mike McGlinchey's actually pretty good in the run game as well. People don't give
Oh,
him credit. Don't yeah.
he's one of the best in the run
He
game.
is, and people don't give him credit for that. He does get
Yeah,
caught flat-footed a lot in the passing game, but he's good at the run game. So again, you got to see these guys do both things. You got to see him pass protect. You got to see him run block. Now, if you just you can't even gain a yard in the middle, then we have a problem. But we don't even know
yeah,
that yet. So
exactly. So, uh, so okay, let's get to Debo now. Like we talked about training camp. Like there's really, like we said, we're waiting for the pads tomorrow. Kinlaw and McGlinchey and Trent Williams will actually get a chance to get on the field. So that'll be big. It'll be really good to see them get on the field. But other than that, like all we're talking about is walkthroughs, realistically speaking. So, but let's get to Debo. So the rumor is Debo could get his deal done by next Monday.
mhm.
What do you think the deals look like? Do they have to wait for Jimmy to be gone? Do you think Debo ends up having a similar year? And after all is said and done, do you think he's going to have a similar year like last year?
As let's start off with a year. As far as yards from scrimmage, I don't think it's going to be as high, obviously, because he's not going to be running and has to do as much as he is. But I do think Debo's still going to break 1,000 yards rushing because of Trey's mobility and his ability to extend the pocket and Debo's ability to get open. And Debo doesn't get his. I feel like Debo gets disrespected when it comes to his route running. I think he's pretty good at finding the open space. So I think his target's going to be up there, especially with I'm expecting Ayuk to have a good year. I know like you said, he's been inconsistent in practice, but he's still got to draw some attention. We got George Kittle. I'm expecting a good run game. So I'm still banking on Debo having at least breaking 1,000 yards receiving, having at least 77 receiving receptions. So I really do. I don't think a lot of people think it's going to fall off. I really don't think so, especially with Trey at quarterback. When it comes to his contract, I'm going to stick with what I originally predicted, and I think it's going to mirror Stephon Diggs. And it's a 4-year, 70 million guaranteed. I think that's what Debo's aiming towards. The DK Metcalf was what 3 years, 3 year. It's a 3-year
Three
contract.
years, 72 mil, and I believe he had 70 million guaranteed.
Yeah. So if I'm the 49ers, if I'm Debo Samuel, I'm aiming towards the Stephon Diggs contract. Add that extra year for more guarantees. And I think that's where the holdup is right now is the guarantees. 70 million is pretty good in guarantees.
Mhm.
As far as the Jimmy money goes, I don't think it's an issue anymore after he passes physical. I think
Yeah.
the 49ers are already made their mind up. Like I don't know as far as the finances goes if Jed York his check can't clear till like Jimmy's off the team or like his trust fund has to be available in August, but
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to believe John Lynch on this one, especially now. I think they're off the hook with having to pay Jimmy. So I think right now it's just a matter of like where they're going to land in guarantees, and I think it's going to be closer to the Stephon Diggs contract, 70 million guaranteed, and I want to say it was like 30 million. It was 96 million overall,
Hmm.
and it was a 21.5 million in signing bonuses. So his average salary a year is 24 million a year, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I would say that that's probably around the area. I think that because remember Debo has the same agent as DK
DK
Metcalf
and
and
AJ.
uh, and AJ
Mm-hmm.
and I, no, he doesn't have the same agent as the guy for Washington.
Yeah, he does. They all have the same
Oh,
agent.
they all have the same agent,
Yep.
right?
All
Yeah.
those guys
Like
that got
so,
drafted that year are the same guy.
I think that it's going to be a mixture of the DK Metcalf and the one the guy from Washington. And I think that I'm leaning towards like that six. I don't think they should get hung up over the guaranteed money. Now, I think it's going to be between 65 and 70 million guaranteed. And I think that they're gonna make it look just a little bit better than DK's deal, but it's going to be a 4 year. Like, and I think it's going to be some funny money going on just to make it look better than DK's deal. I think the last it's going to be backloaded, and I think that it's going to be one of those kick the can type deals, like to where they're just going to keep restructuring him to keep him around for
Backloaded.
another couple of years after that. But I think they're going to backload it. I think that it's going to that last year's number is going to be so big that everybody knows that he's not going to get that on that year. Like,
What do you prefer, a 3 or a 4 year?
um, I think that you have. I think you go 4 years because I don't think that you're going to resign him after that.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like he's 26, he's about to be 27, so that would leave him at 31,
Mm-hmm.
and like at that point you would want to be transitioning, and who knows how his body is holding up at that point, like with the running game and how much they're going to use him. We just don't know. There's not enough we know about how they're going to use him up to that point. Like, but his physical style, I think, is like, I mean, I think it does have a shelf life. And I mean, you look at a guy like Cordarrelle Patterson, like who's still doing it, but I think he didn't start that style until later on down the road. And like, so I think that helps him a little bit. I just look at Debo, and yeah, I think that you can't do that forever. That there's no way you're going to be able to do that forever. And so I think you go 4 years, get the most out of him that you can. I know it sounds bad, but like, and
Right.
then you're going to want to you're going to either give him an offer to kind of lowball him and then let him go elsewhere, or or hopefully he's still in. I just don't think that you can keep him around after he's 31. Like I think you're going to
Yeah.
be wanting to move away from him.
I mean, like if you look at those two contracts, the Diggs and the DK contracts, DK's contract looks a little bit sexier. The signing bonus is 30 million, and his
Yeah,
average salary is 24. So it's the
which is
same.
why which it sorry to catch up, but
No,
that's
you're good.
why I think that because that's the part I didn't talk about. That's why I do think that they want to get. I think they're waiting to get rid of Jimmy to sign the deal is because I think that the guarantees is what I think they're going to want to give him some up front. I think
Mm-hmm.
he wants some of that money up front so that, but they got to free up some of that Jimmy money to give him his money up front.
Yeah, it'll be interesting though because John Lynch has like refusely said that Jimmy's money has not held anything up with Debo. And then all of a sudden, like Jimmy's gone, and then you pay Debo. So I mean that doesn't really matter, but for me, it's like, so then yeah, it really was holding up the Debo situation. You've been
Yeah.
lying this entire time. That doesn't really matter, but I'm going to call him out.
But
I'm gonna, I'm
he's
gonna take
just
my
going to
shot.
word it in some other way, and
Right?
he's just going to say, "Well, it wasn't we. This is because what he's going to do is he's going to point to the timeline and that we've always paid our guys at this time. So you can say that it was because we had to get rid of Jimmy, but the reality is we've always paid guys at this time. And I mean, they didn't pay Trent Williams until what, a week before the season started. Like, so yeah, I just think that yeah, I just think that like John Lynch, I don't think he's worried about how it's perceived. I think that he's just going to do whatever it takes to him and Parag are going to do what it takes to make sure that that they're covered. Because I think that they do want to use it. They like I thought that they wanted to get rid of Jimmy's money so that they could roll it over into next year, but it really could be used better by guaranteeing some of Debo's money this year and getting a big chunk of it out of the way, so that way he doesn't hit them so hard down the road.
Yeah, yeah. Let me ask you this though, because I am curious to hear what your take is on that. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier in the show. Why do you think they wait so long to get these guys signed?
I honestly, I have no clue. Like I'm not gonna pretend like I have. Uh, oh, what's going on, Mariah? Thanks for watching.
Yo, what up, Mariah?
And yeah, of course, like he said, Mark said, "What's up to Mariah?" But yeah, I'm not gonna pretend like to act like I'm smart enough to understand their reasoning.
Right.
Like they're just. I think they have a timeline on when they like to pay guys. I think they like to see everything play out, the whole off season play out, and so that way, if there's anything that they see of a way that they can improve the team before they pay that guy, and they may have to trade him for whatever reason, or you know what I'm saying, they
Yeah,
could make they may see some other move that they want to make before they actually set in stone that, hey, we're going to pay this guy. I think that they're just leaving themselves some flexibility in what they can do, and it sucks for the fans because we just want to see our guy get paid. Like, and of course, the guy wants to get paid right away. He wants his check. He wanted his check so he could spend some stuff over the summer. He wanted to get some new
right.
kicks. He wanted,
He's want a new
he wanted
chain,
to get fly. Like,
some new kicks. Come on now.
but at the end of the day, the team is going to do what's best for the team, and I think that that's what that is. I think that that gives them some more flexibility in what they can do in the off season before they go all in on that player.
Yeah. So my thing is like, no, you're absolutely dead on. Like John Lynch can care less what we think.
Yeah,
He doesn't
for
care
sure.
what the perception is. I'm just nosy
Yeah,
and I want to know these things because I just want to know. But I
yeah.
do wonder, it's like, is it more beneficial for them to just like set the market themselves than allowing other teams to set the market for them? Um, I always circle back to the Christian Kirk contract. Like if Christian Kirk signs that contract like 5 guys later, like all the top guys get paid and then he gets paid, nobody's talking about it. But
No.
because he was one of the first contracts to be signed, it's like he set the market. So I'm always curious to know, like, is it more beneficial for the 49ers to go out and pay their guys first? Or is it more expensive for like someone else to set the bar and then they got to go out and match it? I'm not an
Well, I
agent.
mean,
I don't know.
yeah, I've always thought it's always been beaten into our brain that you want to set the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's been beaten into our brain for years now. But not necessarily because if you look at how it played out, so you had Christian Kirk, everybody was saying, "Oh, Debo's got to get like 100 million guaranteed
Right.
now," and like all these things. But then, and then what? Who was the next person to get their deal? Devontae got his
It
deal,
was
right?
Adams. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that was astronomical. So like you knew Debo wasn't going to get that because it's Devontae Adams, but it kind of set the bar really high, and then AJ Brown got his deal, which was way more realistic than and then the other guys got theirs, and now DK got his, and even though technically he's going to be the highest paid receiver, like it still looks more realistic than what it was looking early on, and what people were saying it was going to be. So, do you really need to set the market? I don't know that you do. I think that it all. I think that by sitting there and watching what everybody else did, and I think they actually are going to end up in a really good position. I think that they're gonna, like I said, when Jimmy's money comes off the books, they may be able to pay him a lot up front, and that could have been what held it up too. Like I know that they were saying that they didn't that they weren't waiting for Jimmy to sign him, but they also said that that they have to trade. They're gonna trade Jimmy, and they said a lot of things, but
Yeah.
it doesn't always end up the way that they say it. So like you can't truly trust, like it's business, and it's negotiation. You can't trust what they're saying because it's all smokescreen. And so I just think that they are waiting to get rid of Jimmy. I think that they because I do think that they want to pay Debo a lot up front, a big
Mm-hmm.
chunk up front, so that they can leave themselves some financial flexibility because they got to pay Bosa next year, who's going to break the bank like that. I mean, it's not
Oh
even a
yeah.
question. So he's going to break the bank. Like I said, you might have to pay Emmanuel Mosley, like, and that deal might come into all this stuff is going to come into play when you're thinking about re-signing those guys. And I mean, in what we got 3 more years until Trey has to get paid. So all that stuff has to come into play. And but we'll see. We'll see. I I think that they're always going to say that Jimmy's deal didn't have anything to do with it, but I think really if he gets paid a lot up front, you know that I was right.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we'll go back to it. But the thing, so like, if you look at the Christian Kirk contract, it's not that bad. It's like
No,
compared to how everybody else got paid, it's not that bad. And they're not even. It's a good contract. Like they're not even committed to him after like two
well, that's
years
what I'm
or
saying. It's funny money. It's
it's
funny
funny
money.
money. Yeah,
It looks a lot worse than what it looks when you say the number. When you said the number initially, it sounded really bad. It sounded like
yeah.
Jacksonville was just being a bunch of idiots. But
I
then
think
when
the
you looked
timing.
at the actual breakdown, it wasn't
Yeah,
what.
so like I'm 100% with you on that. Like as far as business goes, business is business. I'm gonna die on this hill though. I think from a PR perspective, it's a nightmare. And I don't. I really do, honestly. I really do feel like players they do care. Like, hey, these guys are getting paid and I'm not. I just got to mess
Yeah,
with their psyche. That's just my opinion. I wish things were different, but they know what they're doing. I obviously don't. I'm just a firm believer that it's probably better to get it out the way sooner than later. I could be wrong, but I always ask anybody that I can who I respect as far as a football opinion goes is why do you think that is? You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's always a question I do have because I always wonder myself. So it's always good to talk about.
yeah, for sure. And the reality of the fact is that we don't know, and they're not going to tell us.
Right.
So
We just
it's
speculating.
yeah, we're all just speculating, and but at the end of the day, I know that Debo's getting re-signed. Hopefully, it is by this Monday. I would love for that to happen
Mm-hmm.
and to see him in pads come this Monday. That would be
Mm-hmm.
awesome, and I think yeah, I'm just excited even thinking about it. But
Yep.
last guy I want to talk about uh, is Danny Gray. So Danny Gray has been getting pad. They reportedly has been just torching guys like on the. I mean, now granted, he's been playing with the twos and the threes, but he has been from reportedly he's been torching guys on defense and getting behind the defense.
Yep.
And that he's actually had to come back for the ball uh because he had Brock Purdy and Sudfeld throwing to him. So a couple of passes got broken up because he had to come back for the ball. But one of them, Purdy threw a touchdown to him that yeah, he still had to come back for the ball, but he got the touchdown. He eventually got the touchdown. But what do you think? Like when he gets a chance to play with Trey, do you think he's going to be a bigger piece than we actually think?
I think even though he shines in training camp, I want to see because we all know Kyle Shanahan, like Danny said, you don't block, no rock. So I want to see what he does in the blocking game. And then I would honestly say if he's doing his duties there, but I'm going to compare him to and I'm sure anybody watching is going to hate me for this, but the Dante Pettis rookie year where they were just, I mean, Dante Pettis had an all right rookie year. He was, I mean, with Jawan Jennings rising up, I don't think he's going to take a lot of snaps away from JJ.
Mm.
And then with Ayuk and Debo, I don't really see him going in there and just like, you know, getting all these targets. I really
Yeah.
don't. So I think he will have I think he's going to get opportunity. I don't know unless you're hearing more than I am. I mean, obviously you are, but I'm going to reserve on whether he's going to be that phenomenal my rookie year because his rookie year, I'm sorry, because I want to see put the pads on. So I don't know. Educate me, I guess.
Well, I mean, it's not that I'm hearing a ton. It's just that I'm hearing with the seconds and thirds that I heard about the Brock Purdy touchdown, and then I heard that Brock Purdy also vastly underthrew a ball to him, and it ended up getting picked off because he had to come back for the ball. But nobody's been hitting him in stride, is what I'm hearing, and I think that's the important part. And he's not really playing getting snaps with Trey, so with the first. So when Trey is with him to those balls where he's burning past guys and he's open, those could be touchdowns with Trey.
Yeah.
And so I'm just thinking that does he get a bigger role than because I think right now the 49ers never like to play rookies. I think we
No.
can safely say
Yeah.
that now, unless they absolutely have to. Like they don't really like putting rookies out there. So,
No.
but what I will say is that Kyle, if a guy shows out, a guy shows out, and Kyle will carve a role out for them if he sees that it works. And what I see is on those third and long plays, I think he's for sure he's going to be out there. But I'm wondering even on the third and eights, I'm thinking that and somebody said it earlier in a space today, like I think that we may end up seeing more four wide receiver sets if he shows out. I think we're going to see some of that in preseason. I'm interested to see how they handle that in preseason. But I think that you might see in preseason him just trying stuff out and some more four wide receiver set and maybe a five wide receiver set, which we never see.
Yeah.
Like so,
Ever.
yeah. Like so, I mean, this wide receiver room is stacked. So it's and I know it's hard to tell right now because of how good the defense has been looking in without pads on, but I just think that they might start trying some things out, and if they work, there's an opportunity there that he might carve out a bigger role. Like, but it's just speculation, something to talk about, friends, something to look forward to
Yeah.
in the preseason. It's nothing that I think is going to be concrete in stone. It's just something I was thinking about, and I wanted to know if you thought that it could even be on the same in the same stratosphere.
Yeah. So like I think that's what it really comes down to is because like and I know like you said uh they don't really play rookies. The other thing I'm worried I'm thinking is like he kind of sounds like a one trick pony.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know what his route tree looks like, and
Yeah,
then again his blocking. So
yeah,
they may take shots early with him in preseason to see like, okay, can we do this with this guy? But if we had to put a percentage on it and how many like how much is he going to play throughout the game? I don't know that it's going to be above 50%. I think year two
yeah.
we'll see a lot more of Danny Gray.
Yeah, no, I think at the most he's gonna see maybe 20% snaps
Yeah, yeah,
at the most. Like, because I don't think that all of a sudden they're gonna start busting out four and five wides like out of nowhere. Like, I think they're gonna run the offense that they've been running, the same one that they ran with Jimmy. I think that now we just don't have Jimmy, and those natural shot plays that were always there that Jimmy would let guys run wide open down the field and wouldn't throw them the ball. I think that Trey's gonna be throwing those guys the ball
yeah.
this time, and I think that's the only difference. So, but dude, it was great finally getting you in here.
Right.
Like, and we're definitely gonna have to do it again, like
Mm-hmm.
soon. But like, we're gonna get out of here. But tell them one more time where to find you on the socials and where to find your show. I know your show's coming up, and I know you have a show, probably a show today with Ryan, right?
Yeah, no, so we do not actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've been off for a while. I took vacation. There was really nothing to talk about. We were just talking about the same
Yeah.
thing over and over. So
Yeah.
I'll be back Monday. And we're having a show. I am the host of that Niner Live podcast. For anybody who doesn't know who I am, you can see my handle below at Ronnie Niner. You can catch me on Twitter. We do go live on Twitter. That's where the majority of my audience is. I do go live on YouTube, and I am expanding on over to Spotify. You can also catch me on Thursdays at 7 o'clock Pacific time, 10 o'clock Eastern, with Money Mav and the fellas, flying Ryan on the Red and Gold 24/7. So I appreciate you having me, man. It's been fun.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Anytime you guys want to come, I had Drew on here a few weeks back, and like that was a great show. It's always nice to talk to you guys. Big ups to Ryan and the whole crew over there, Mav and everybody. Like you guys have a great show. So make sure that you guys check out their content. Make sure you guys give them all they're all on Twitter. Like
Yes, sir.
so make sure that you give those guys a follow. Make sure you give Ron a follow. Like make sure you give me a follow. I just hit 800 today,
Nice.
and like I'm stoked at the growth of the Twitter on Twitter. I'm in spaces every day,
Yep, I
Like
hear you.
in any football space, random football space, I'm probably going to be in there at some point that day.
Yeah,
Like yeah, like, but thank you guys all for listening. Thank you guys all for watching. Make sure, remember that, tell your friends. Make sure you give me a like, subscribe to the channel. It's free and it's just entertaining content. So just make sure that you hit all these guys up, because the 49ers definitely have the greatest bunch of podcasters I think I've seen in all the NFL. So make sure you
facts.
check out everybody.
Yes, sir.
But it's I'll be back next week. I probably only will have one show next week. Like but yeah, like look on the lookout for that. And yeah, once again, go Niners.
Go Niners, baby.